better late than never. Well, that could be an understatement if you use it with this, the Honda Elevate, an SUV that has entered the highly competitive mid-size segment at a time where its competitors have already reached their facelifts or even second generations. However, then there are the resounding comments around this SUV that say कि diesel nahi diya hai, there is no hybrid, there is no turbocharged engine and all that jazz. But one thing that the competition does not get is the Honda engineering mark. What we are here to see is if this SUV is worthy of the Honda badge and how it plans to compete against its competition that has more tech and is more attractive on the surface. Now when I first looked at the Elevate, I was like, okay, it's a pretty subdued design that they have gone with, and I wasn't really sure how they plan to compete with much more blingier competition that this segment sees. However, Honda claims that they are targeting this SUV towards people with a bit of more mature taste, young families that are in their early 30s and are looking for a product which has a global appeal and is sensible as well. And on those fronts, I think the Elevate does a very good job. As you can see, there is a chrome element up here in the front of the car. However, it is not overdone by any means. Then there is this big and imposing central grille that you see here and the neatly tucked LED headlamp units that get these really well done LED DRLs as well. At the lower part of the bumper, you'll see the LED fog lamps. Nothing too bizarre, nothing too wacky. It just looks like it belongs there. Then even the front bumper wraps around the entire front facade in a very well manner, and it also gets scuff plates that can be very useful because of these blacked out elements that it gets that will take any brunt from any rocks or sand that you may come across. Overall, the front is wrapped up very nicely with a very high sitting bonnet line that gives it a very imposing look which customers in this segment are usually looking for. The sensibility and matureness carry over to the side profile of the Elevate SUV as well. As you can see, nothing too outlandish is going on the side profile of this SUV. The doors get plastic claddings that are also finished in body color to make them look as if they are part of the vehicle and not just for rough use. Then you have the 17-inch diamond cut alloy wheels that have a very contemporary design and will definitely age well over an extended period of ownership. Then you've got the squared arches, the plastic side cladding and the big outside rear view mirrors that give you a good view of what's happening behind and also get integrated LED indicators. Then everything is wrapped up really nicely with these aluminium silver finished roof rails and the shark fin antenna up there. Now at the rear, the Elevate is much more recognizable as a Honda to me. Now that is because of the shape of these LED tail lamps that you see on the edges on either sides, because this reminds me of cars that are already in the lineup of the car maker right now. Now keeping up with the trends, Honda has also given these tail lamps an LED light bar unit that connects both of them in the center of the tailgate. The lower part of the bumper is finished in black plastic. Then you also have a grey element in the lower part of the bumper to give it a bit of a design element. So what am I leading to with all that? Again, that the design is very contemporary, it is very mature in a sense and is not too outlandish. Now just because I've been using words like contemporary, mature and not too outlandish and all that, don't think that this car has just been thrown together by Honda. There is a considerable amount of engineering and benchmarks that the company has set with the Elevate. And that starts with its boot space, which is the best in the segment at 458 liters. Currently we have our equipment inside. Despite having 458 liters of boot space, The car also gets a full-size spare wheel here. However, this is a steel rim. And then here you have a very special reverse parking camera unit that gives you 3 different angles to choose from, which works in tandem with the 4 rear parking sensors that you can see on the lower part of the Elevate's bumper. However, that also means that the car does not get 360-degree camera view. Okay, so now I am inside the cabin of the Elevate SUV, and the first thing I want to show you is this. Yes, even in the top trim of the Elevate, you still get manually adjustable front seats, which is not a bad thing in my books at all, because this is much more quicker and you can get in position much more quickly than the electronic seats that we usually have in cars of this segment these days. But that is also a personal choice and is subjective. Coming back to the cabin of the Elevate, the entire treatment to this cabin is very minimal in its design, which is not a bad thing at all and actually is pretty trending these days. You can see that while the top part of the dashboard is hard plastic, you do get soft leather touch points here as well in the center, and then you have the glove box, which has a pretty good amount of storage space as well. The top part and the middle leather part is divided by this plastic forward veneer in the center, and the rectangular air vents also do a pretty good job of throwing air inside the cabin. Then in the center of the top console, you get the 10.25-inch high-resolution touchscreen that offers a host of functions and also gets the latest OS from Honda. Down below, you get the functions for your automatic climate zone and other AC functions. Then below, tucked away neatly, is the phone wireless charger and 2 USB ports on the right side. And the wireless charger can be turned on and off as per user requirement and does not remain on all the time. Coming to the lower center console, you get very useful 2 cup holders up front. Then you have the gear shifter. In this car that we are driving the CVT, so we get the drive mode selector here. And then you've got your manual handbrake in this car. Even in the top trim, it does not get electronic parking brake and can be judged as a miss or a hit by different people with different preferences. Again, the brown leather continues in the front seats as well. These are the same seats that we have earlier seen in the 5th gen Honda City as well, and really are comfortable and give a lot of good back support. However, I think they could offer a little bit better under thigh support. Then of course the ambience inside the cabin of the Elevate is definitely amped up with this electric sunroof that you get up there. However, it is not a very big unit because this car is around 1750 mm wide or more or less than that. And coming to the driver's side, up front you get the analog speedometer and the digital 7-inch screen for the multi-information driver display, which gives you a host of information and also offers up information related to the ADAS safety functions that this car gets. The steering wheel is a very good unit which is wrapped in leather and gives you a host of multi-function buttons to operate. And it is not a flat bottom unit, however it is not very big and also gets paddle shifters despite this being a CVT. Then you've got the engine start stop button on one side, and even the brightness for the MID display can be controlled with a dedicated button here on the left side of the console. The 10.25-inch screen that you see up here is paired to an 8-speaker audio system that sounds really nice and does the job well. So overall, looking at the kind of functions and features that Honda has given inside the Elevate, it can be safely said that it is well equipped to compete against its rivals. However, it might not be that flashy. But then again, Honda is obviously not trying to blitz all their customers with flashy lights and things. Now let's sit in the rear seat of the Honda Elevate and see what kind of comfort is on offer there as well. So now we are in the second row of the Honda Elevate SUV. And to be honest, while I do not have much of headroom here, I do have a lot of room here in my knee area. The front seat is adjusted according to my height, and my height is around 5'11", and I also get this armrest with 2 cup holders in the center in a typical fashion, and for comfort you get 2 air vents in the center and also a 12-volt power outlet right below that. The upholstery looks very premium and feels good, and there are also the brown leather soft touch elements here on the door panels as well. Of course, everything else, the fit and finish is pretty solid, I would say. However, I do feel that in comparison to other competitors of this segment, the headroom could have been a little bit better in the Elevate. Okay, so now we get to the exciting part of this review where I get to drive the Elevate SUV. Now currently we are driving the Elevate with the CVT automatic gearbox. The engine option across the range is the same 1.5 litre iVTEC engine that we have also seen in the 5th generation Honda City. This engine particularly makes around 121 PS of power and 145 Newton meters of torque. Now the CVT transmission that I am driving right now also gets paddle shifters, and Honda claims that they have programmed the transmission in such a way that it gives you a feel of gear shifts to make the driving more engaging. However, during my drive on highways and city conditions here in Udaipur, I did not really notice a very significant change in how the CVT reacts and the typical rubber band effect that is expected from these automatic transmissions. However, once you operate the paddle shifter, put a gear down, the car does get pretty responsive, and down here you also get a sport mode that makes the entire setup more reactive. Now on paper it might seem that the torque figure in the Elevate is a pretty modest one, and it is, and that is also made apparent if you try to push the engine too hard. Now while it does rev up beyond 5000 RPM very cleanly, the mix of the CVT and the engine's 121 PS of power, 145 Newton meters of torque does not make for a very dramatic experience when you're out on the road. It does not push you back in the seat, and it does not have blistering fast acceleration as well. The top speed in this car is 160 kmph, but if you stop trying to push the Elevate and just give 30 to 40% input, then the car starts doing its thing in a much better and much more refined manner. Speaking of refined, the NVH levels and the suspension setup of the Elevate is truly refined and gives a very comfortable experience inside this SUV. Over bad patches and undulations, there is not a single noise that will creep inside the cabin. There is also use of special foam in the lower parts of the chassis to make the car more silent and compliant. Stability is another area where the Elevate does not throw up any complaints. The Elevate gets nitrogen gas-filled shock absorbers on all 4 corners and also gets an anti-roll bar that helps its lateral stability. Around the corners, while I did feel a considerable amount of body roll in the Elevate, in all other type of conditions, the Elevate performed like a champ. I have no complaints in terms of handling from this SUV that Honda is offering. But in the same breath, I cannot speak about the braking, because this SUV gets disc brakes on the front but drum brakes on the back. Now coming to a halt from a high speed, let's say 100 or 120 kmph, the brake feel is adequate, but the car does feel a bit floaty when coming to a complete standstill. Now one of the highlights of the Elevate SUV are the ADAS functions that it is coming with. And right now, as we will show you from a different camera angle, the lane keep assist is helping me glide along this national highway without any effort and very effectively. Then there is the one important bit that all SUVs need to excel at, and that is ground clearance. And the Honda Elevate gets 220 mm of that, which is pretty good and also comparable to SUVs in a much higher segment than this SUV. So that was the 2023 Honda Elevate SUV. Overall, coming back to what I said in the beginning, this SUV is definitely late to the party and even lacking in some departments. So does that mean that the Elevate should not be in the shortlist of anyone wanting to buy a mid-sized SUV? Absolutely not. Because if you look at this entire segment, the Elevate seems to strike the perfect balance between flashy and sensible. The car gets a proven and efficient 1.5-liter iVTEC engine. Equipment, though not in your face or flashy, is there. The Elevate is definitely a winner for someone looking to buy a car and who plans to keep it for a long ownership period. The fact that it is only available in petrol guarantees that it has an ownership lifetime of at least 15 years. And then there is the luxurious and comfortable driving experience of this SUV. So bottom line, I think Honda has nailed it for the kind of demographic that they are planning to go after with the Elevate. Now at the time of this shoot, we do not know the prices of the Elevate SUV. However, considering the lack of equipment and flashy tidbits that it is missing out on compared to its competition, it can be assumed that it will come at a fairly lower price than other popular SUVs in this segment. How it will fare for Honda and its sales numbers is something that remains to be seen. So that wraps up our review of the 2023 Elevate. Do let us know what you think about this offering from Honda in the comment section below. Like always, like, share and subscribe to our channel for more such content. Until next time, this is Amber Banerjee signing out.